I know what I said before, we're simply changing the color, but make no mistake here, guys, this is a lot of work. The amount of hours we put into simply prepping this will kind of shock you. And I think once you see the room, once it's all prepped and laid out, you'll be pretty amazed. All in all, we have 3 guys here all day just to prep this area and put primer down. That's about 24 man hours of work just to get primer on this thing. The first thing we do on any job is clean. We use this plant-based kitchen cabinet and furniture cleaner. It's the only cleaner on the market specifically designed for cabinet finishes. Super simple to use. Spray on the cabinet, take some dry clean paper towels, wipe it down until it's dry, and you're done. No streaks, no shines, no residue. Now, while we use it to prep our surfaces, it also makes a great daily cleaner for food and dirt and those nasty, greasy fingerprints your kids leave all over the cabinets. Take these walnut drawers, for example. Same deal, you spray, you wipe, you're done. It also comes with a little scrub brush for those stubborn spots, but that's about it. And you're left with this beautiful matte luster that your cabinets were supposed to have, not some shiny, greasy look that other cleaners leave behind. The best part about this is you can get it on Amazon using the link in my description below. After hitting it with the cabinet cleaner, we go over it with a solvent-based cleaner just to make sure that we have all the greases and oils gone. Last thing you want are those on the cabinets before you paint. The main focus for this video was the fireplace. You could see Jamie's main focus there is on his phone. But we are doing the island here as well. And this room is just very large. It's too large for the exhaust fan to be quite effective. So what I'm doing here is cutting the room in half. And my idea behind this is I have this side on the left here boxed off, and I have this giant wall here over the peninsula. And then so what I figured we would do is kind of create a wall, kind of like a door, like a flap, that'll be in this position when I spray the fireplace, and then move it to this position when I spray the kitchen island. And the fan would go right in the middle window there. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed myself. I think it was a great idea, but these are the kind of things that you don't really know until you start doing this stuff. And you have to have a vision on how you're going to set up the room efficiently. Because if I had to do one room at a time and set up and break down and move over and set up and break down again, you'd probably waste another entire day. So this way, most efficient. Ventilation here is one of the most important things for a number of reasons. Number one, you don't want overspray floating around the entire house. And number two, well, you light a match, the place will go boom. So it's really important to have good airflow, and that's what this explosion-proof fan is for. You'd be surprised how many guys spray on site without this. They just spray, pray, and run away. The detail in your masking is crucial because when it all comes down, you see absolutely everything. This brick took a long time because of how nicely coped this wood was around the brick. Pro tip, metal tape sticks really good to stone. Everything's cleaned, everything's sanded, and everything's masked off. It's time to spray. We're using a vinyl primer. It lays down really nice, dries fast. You could sand it in like an hour's time. It's awesome. We are gonna let this sit overnight so it dries really hard and sands even better. But look at the plumes of overspray in the air and then watch how quickly they leave the area once I get off the ladder. Gone. That's because we have proper airflow. That fan is ripping right now and it's sucking that air right out of the room. No overspray anywhere. It's not laying around. That's how you want it to be. Once the primer is down, we're able to see any imperfections or open seams or anything like that that we want to fix before putting the paint on. In a perfect world, we like to do the repairs before the primer, but when you're going from a dark wood, it's hard to see what will actually end up showing up. So in this scenario, we wait till after. So first thing you'll see here is the back of the TV cupboard. I only ended up putting 1 coat of primer just because we're doing 2 coats of dark blue, and I figured it just wasn't necessary. But stuff like this, where you see these joints are cracked open, that's all going to be caulked in and filled. Now, mind you, this piece was intended to have some distressing. So if you notice any dings or dents or little holes or stuff like that, that's just kind of part of it. So some of those will show up after the paint. One thing I noticed here is some fisheye in the primer. Now, this will happen when there's contamination on the surface of the wood. So this leads me to believe that this particular one spot here was not wiped with the solvent-based lacquer thinner. It could have just been some grease or oils or residue from something sitting there, and it just made it react like that. Not a huge deal. We'll just sand it out smooth, and we can keep moving forward. Over here on this trim, it's really rough inside here. You could hear my hand rubbing against it. This is from the initial milling of these boards, so it just was left a little rough. Now, when it was stained and distressed, not a huge deal, but because we're going to a smooth painted finish, we want to make sure we sand this out nice and smooth. Otherwise, that will be very noticeable in the end. When it comes to spraying the top coat, I use this box method. So I go horizontally one time and then vertically another. I see a lot of guys, they do one thick coat in one direction. The problem with this is you could actually end up with stripes on a certain angle with certain lighting. It'll show up. So the box method is very thick, it's even, and it prevents having those stripe patterns. I always look over it with a bright light after I spray an area, just to make sure no lint or particles or any hairs have landed in the paint. I could go ahead and get it out with a pair of tweezers. The fireplace is a bit more complicated because there's a lot of areas that have to be hit, and as you're going along, the paint starts to set up. You don't want overspray landing on what you just painted. We're doing 2 coats back to back here, so the first coat goes on, we allow it, 5-10 minutes or so to set up, and then we're able to go right over it with the second coat while the paint is still fresh, not having to sand in between. Now, the most satisfying part is always the breakdown, because you get to tear off all this stuff that took you 24 hours to put up. We get it all done and cleaned up probably in about an hour and a half time. For this particular job, we were changing the hardware style and location. So in the shop, we plugged all the holes and painted over them. So with these, we have to install the draw fronts and the doors and then drill new holes for the new hardware. So we take, about a half hour or so, unpackage all the hardware, lay it all out, get all our doors, draw fronts installed, and then we could go ahead and install the new hardware. This is one heck of an upgrade. These little wimpy handles to these giant pulls. Brass, it's gonna look awesome against the blue fireplace. I mean, think about it, you have a giant fireplace built-in cabinet. You can't have these little handles. So these pulls are really gonna make the piece. A little pro tip here, put a piece of blue tape on the door where you're going to be drilling. So this way when you're making your markings, you're making the markings on the tape, not the door itself. This will help protect it from scratching, and you won't have to clean up any pencil marks after. I do have a jig for this, which makes this a lot easier, but my jig actually doesn't extend far enough for these long handles. So I'm having to do this the old school way, measuring and using a little square here, but hey, it's still going to work. I always start with a small drill bit to use as a pilot hole, and I drill from the front of the door into the back. And this is because oftentimes when you drill through and the bit finally breaks through, it can leave splinters on the back of the door. We don't want those coming through the front. So small bit, small splinters. Then I go over it with a larger bit, my final hole size, and I start the hole in the back, but then I finish the hole by going from the front to the back. This ensures that my final hole will not have any splinters in the back, and it's a very, very clean finish. You don't have to do any touch-ups afterwards. This part could be a little nerve-wracking because a little slip and you can gouge the paint, chip it, or scratch it. So I start the first hole on the top, gently swing it down, start the second one, and then I'm able to tighten up both screws for the handle. This makes sure I have a nice, clean fit every time, no scratching, no gouging. You gotta be patient with this step. Overall, I'm extremely pleased with how this came out, completely transformed the room, and really updated the entire space. I mean, look where we came from before and compared to what we have now. The blue color is incredible. The brass handles makes it pop. I wish I could have seen this with the TV installed because that just ties it all in together. And because this is one giant room, the color on the fireplace ties in really nice with the island. You have some contrast, but it's not overkill.